And here she is now, Lynn Redgrave. What James Mason?
You know, that
yes.
was my very first day's filming on that scene
Really?
down at the dance stand. I've never been more frightened in my life.
Why
Darling,
so?
Well, it was my first big movie. Why so? You asked me why so. What stupid questions you ask here in Boston?
Well, you such a polished actress.
I was a much younger person, much larger person in those days, and if it weren't for the wonderful James Mason, who you saw briefly at the end of that clip, who encouraged me through that first day and made the whole thing possible.
Well, I want to mention to everybody that Lynn is involved in a marvelous UNICEF project. She is about to be crowned, I guess one says, or anointed as the UNICEF Mother of the Year, and she's going to tell us about that in a few minutes before, but I got to get some questions in.
All right.
I'm delighted to see you again.
It's lovely to see you too.
The Weight Watchers ads makes me think about weight with you. Weight was in one part of your life a rather serious issue, was it not?
Well, you just saw that clip from Georgy Girl, and actually I was a little thinner there because that was my first day shooting, and that was before they said you can eat everything you like. So as the film goes on, there are times when I sort of go up and down a lot. Yes, it really was a big issue, and Weight Watchers I joined about 3.5 years ago. And although I had managed to be professionally thin for many years, I still had the problem. I was professionally thin by a great deal of deprivation and starving and, you know, worrying about my food, and I changed my way of life about 3.5 years ago, and now I'm the spokesperson for Weight Watchers Frozen Foods.
How much did you lose, Lynn?
On Weight Watchers?
Yeah.
35 pounds.
Really? So you're working on it all the time?
Well, now I have this new way of living. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. I don't want to do a whole commercial on this show, but anyway, it's great. Yeah.
Is it also true that at one part of your life you were actually training to become a gourmet cook in London?
Well, sort of. You know, when I was about 15, before I got the acting bug, which happened at about 15 and a half, up until then I thought I was going to be a world-famous show jumper, an equestrian, and that's what I did in my spare time all the time. And I then tried to think of a way that, since you have to have a bit of financial backing to be any sort of show jumper, horses eat a lot and wear a lot of shoes and funny things like that, a lot of brushes on their tails and all sorts. I thought of what can I do that I like doing that I can make money, and I thought if I was a gourmet cook I would cook dinner parties on weekdays and show horses on the weekends. It didn't quite work out that way, and I in fact went to the Polytechnic School College in London, Regent Street, and I took what's called a short housewives course. I never did take the cordon bleu course I intended to take. But I'm a good cook, and I'm not sure. A person who is a lesbian is a person first, and you know, when everybody says, what's it like to play a lesbian, I say, no, well, first of all, I have to say, what's it like to play that woman who also happens to be a lesbian? It certainly was an interesting job, and I'm glad that ABC had the courage to do it. They trod awfully carefully on tippy toes around the subject, but nonetheless it opened up a few windows on a subject that ought to be talked about and acknowledged, and less repression their way.
Does it affect you in any way to play this kind of role? And
what are you trying to say? I have to be gay to play the
role? No, not at all. No. And I don't want to tiptoe around. I mean, it's ridiculous that we do tiptoe around, but it is a world where I think gay men and women struggle because of some of our attitudes and our prejudices.
They do indeed, and that's why
I just wondered effect on you.
I think, to me, the woman is a woman. I've played gun-toting nuns, I've played saints, and I've played hookers, and so to play a bright, intelligent, sensitive, successful woman who happens to love other women didn't seem like the most enormously difficult task of my life. But I think that the more one deals with those subjects on television, the more people talk, and the more people talk, the less they have to fear.
Good, well said. Before we talk about UNICEF, a quick word perhaps about the relationship you now carry on with Vanessa. Are you close to your sister?
Well, we're still sisters, you know.
I've
it's amazing.
Heard that. I read that once.
You know what happens is, you know, that years go by and we're still sisters. She's a fabulous woman. I often wish she'd operate in the political field under another name. Redgrave does so-and-so, and I get a little of the fallout sometimes. However, politically we are poles apart. As sisters, we are very, very dear and loving, and she was a remarkable sister to me growing up, and she remains a remarkable sister, and we don't talk politics.
That's well said. Now, let's talk UNICEF for a second.
Oh, indeed, yes.
Kind of politics you will talk.
Oh, that I will indeed. And the Mother's Day campaign is a fantastic campaign, because what could be more natural than to say to the mothers of America, let your dear children send you these lovely cards, to say to the children of America, send your mothers a lovely
UNICEF card.
Funny, I should want to hold it up at this moment, but I just happen to have these pretty flowers. They're pressed flowers from Mauritius, and for a minimum $5 donation, you can get these cards from UNICEF, and we're going to put up a number and an address where they can be got.
We will indeed.
And the $5 is targeted towards UNICEF's project which is universal child immunization by the year 1990, and $5 can immunize a child against all of the killer diseases, and $5 will buy enough vaccine for 50 children to be immunized against the 3 diphtheria, whooping cough, and tetanus. And I can see everybody waving their hands, they want me to hurry up. I'm going to be at Faneuil Hall today between 11:30 and 12, and you can see me sign the world's largest Mother's Day card, and you can buy these cards. And come on, mothers, help them out.